Hello friends, looking at current affairs for 2nd July, Sunday. The news items picked up from the Hindu newspaper are these 17. We'll look at them in detail. The first one, 1 lakh suspect firms deregistered. So this is the announcement made by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He has said that 1 lakh companies have been deregistered presently. And this action has been taken 48 hours before GST has been implemented. So presently, this is while the companies were busy in the rollout of GST, this action has been taken, and this is based on the suspicious and questionable operations of these companies on the basis of data mining done on the deposits of banknotes post demonetization. So this is the action taken, and he says further action is also due. 2 lakh similar companies and another 38,000 shell companies would also be deregistered. So action would be taken against them too. What is shell companies? We'll see soon. So this is one announcement made. Second, he speaks about Swiss bank balances from India. So he says that Swiss bank balances have also declined in 2016. If you look at 2013 data, there was a 42% increase. But if you look at 2016 data, then there is a 45% decline in the Swiss bank balances from India. So this is also an announcement made, means people are not using this route. All this is highlighting that how black money is being brought out, unearthed. So this is there, and also he says that in 2 years time, by 2019, there will be the Swiss authorities are going to start sharing the data of such accounts which they have. Such transactions will be shared with India on a real-time basis. So then there will be further action which will be there. So this is a fresh warning given to such account holders as such by the Prime Minister. And the third thing spoken of is regarding the low tax base which India has. The Prime Minister says that just 32 lakh people in the country are saying that they have an income over 10 lakh rupees. So this is an annual income. So they are filing the income tax returns showing that they have income over 10 lakh. So out of 125 crore people, only 32 lakh have such high income is one question which is being raised here. So he says that we have 8 lakh doctors, 8 lakh accountants, 2 crore engineers and business school graduates. Also 2.18 crore Indians went to an overseas holiday last year. So then why do we have such few people who say that their income is over 10 lakh in a year? Only 32 lakh people give these income tax returns. So this is a question being raised. So we look at the details of these three things. One is shell company, then the agreement which we have with the Swiss authorities, and regarding this tax incidents also. So here you can see what is a shell company. So a shell company is a company which does not have any significant asset or operation of itself. It's a shell, khokha. So it's just established as a front for some other activity. So it may exist only on paper, or it may not have any true physical presence also. That may also happen, and it has low or little economic value. So that is the shell company. It's just to show some other business, a cover up for some other business, generally even illegal business, or even to avoid taxes. So this is there. Then this agreement with Swiss authorities. So we have this automatic exchange of information agreement as such with Swiss authorities, under which details of Indians who have their accounts in Switzerland are shared. So this is being started. So flow of information would start from September 2019, as the Prime Minister has also stated presently. So only info from 2018 onwards will be shared as such. Old information will not be shared. So this is also there. So we have seen, that is the reason why the balances there, Swiss account balances are reducing. People are removing their money from Swiss bank accounts, because from 2019 onwards this would start, and at that point of time there would be no money. So all money would have fled, and the old data will not be shared by the Swiss authorities. So this is the fact actually. And then the third thing about the income tax. So here you can see this is the income tax categories, the tax slabs, according to the latest budget 2017-18 financial year. So here you can see up to 2.5 lakh it is exempt for all. Earlier there was a separate female category too, but that has been eliminated now. So male, females all come in the same category. Only difference which is made is between general, senior citizens and very senior citizens who are 80 years and above. Right? So 2.5 lakh to 3 lakh only general category pay a 5% tax. Senior, very senior are exempted. 3 lakh to 5 lakh again only general category pay same 5%. So up to 5 lakh the tax incidence is 5%. tax rate is 5%. Senior citizens again pay 5% from 3 lakh, not from 2.5 lakh. And for very senior, it starts from 5 lakh only. So next slab is 20% and above 10 lakh, it is 30%. So that's what he's saying. The highest tax slab is above 10 lakh. So in that, only 35 lakh Indians are declaring their income. So this is there. But then if you look at the details, so here you can see. So out of the entire population, we should have a look at the rural and urban population as such too. So according to the latest census figures, 2011 census figures, you can see the rural population is gradually declining and urban population is increasing. So this is a gradual phenomena which we are seeing. 1961, 82% of population was in rural India. Now presently it is 68.84. A little less than 70% is rural population. 31% is urban population. So here you can see, so in the rural population, again, agricultural income is exempted from tax. So those who are having agriculture as an activity undertaken, they don't have to pay any tax. And those who have income, annual income less than 2.5 lakh, again, don't have to pay any tax. So a huge proportion of rural population would be exempted from tax. So that aspect is also there. In the urban population too, you can see 95% of families, 90% of families earn less than 2.5 lakh per annum. So a huge number of population again will be falling in the exempted tax slab also. So of course, then salaried people, this is a fact. There are people who evade taxes. So that they have to be brought into the tax net, and it is the salaried people rather than the businesses who end up paying taxes, because everything which they come up with is legal. So after GST, it is expected that the number of people who would be registering their incomes and showing the correct details would increase. So income tax collection will also improve, is the expectation now. Then next is 2 LET militants, 2 civilians killed in Anantnag gunfight. So this is regarding Jammu and Kashmir here. So again, during a gunfight, militants as well as civilians have been killed in the exchange of fire, and fresh stone pelting was also seen by locals here. One of the women civilian was also killed here. And the next news item again on Jammu and Kashmir, this is the CRPF, Central Reserve Police Force Chief, speaking on the stone pelting incidents now reducing in Jammu and Kashmir as compared to last year. So in last year from 2016, it started off with the killing of Burhan Wani. So this is a person, a commander of Hizbul Mujahideen in Jammu and Kashmir. He was killed on 8 July 2016, and since there we are seeing that the Jammu and Kashmir Valley is seeing the stone pelting youth and the security forces fighting, trying to contain them, and the unrest here continues. So this is the situation as such in Jammu and Kashmir presently, and it is stated in last year around, means in 2016 from July onwards, around 1,600 incidents of stone pelting were reported. But now from Jan 2017 till date, it says around 700 incidents also have been reported. So there is a huge decline in stone pelting presently, is being highlighted by Central Reserve Police Force. So what is this CRPF also we are going to see below. And then one more thing pointed out is that CRPF was using pellet guns majorly to disperse these crowds, stone pelting crowds, and this has resulted in many eye injuries too. So this has also resulted in deaths. So last year around 13 people were killed and 250 were injured, many losing their vision also because of this pellet guns use. So pellets are these metals as such which are used in the guns to disperse the crowds. But now CRPF official, the CRPF Director General is saying that now we have shifted to increasingly using non-lethal methods of crowd dispersal, and they are like tear gas shells, and even plastic bullets have been introduced here. So that has been highlighted. Even vans have been made bulletproof to ensure the security of the officials here, armed officials. Then this is regarding the CRPF, Central Reserve Police Force. So this, originally the CRPF stood for Crown Representatives Police, and this was established during British era in 1939. Post-independence in 1949, CRPF Act was passed and it was renamed as Central Reserve Police Force. It comes under the Ministry of Home Affairs, and this major role is assisting police operations to maintain law and order in the state, because law and order is a state subject. So there is this Central Reserve Police Force to assist states in law and order and counter insurgency operations. Right. Also, the CRPF is majorly deployed during general elections also, and it is considered India's largest paramilitary force. Right. And then these are the pellet guns which are shown here. So many of them are made of lead also. Then this is climate change impact. Sundarbans steadily losing its famed mangroves. So this is regarding Sundarbans in West Bengal. You can see the image also shown here. So in this West Bengal state here, you can see these are the Sundarbans forests, and these darker regions which are shown in around maroonish brownish color, these are the regions which have been lost. So Sundarbans forests are presently being lost, is been highlighted in this article, and these are the mangroves. So you can see they have such roots as such which are able to absorb water. Even like they can withstand even salinity in water. They can even withstand lesser amount of water. So they have very strong roots as such. So these mangroves is what we are seeing are being suffering in this region because of climate change, and Sundarbans are losing the mangroves here. So this is because the freshwater flow has also been restricted in the eastern part of in the western part of Sundarbans. In the eastern part means Bangladesh side of the delta, there is huge amount of sediment and water flow. Freshwater flow comes from the rivers as such, Brahmaputra, Meghna river. So there still mangroves are surviving, but in the other side, the western side, we are seeing that the mangroves are suffering because of this. Because it's a minimal flow of fresh water which is necessary for mangroves to grow luxuriantly. Though they can withstand, but then they cannot grow luxuriantly without sufficient fresh water. Minimal amount is still essential. So this is being mentioned. So the reason for this loss of forests here is being stated is the climate change. So climate change has resulted in the sea level rising, and that has resulted in the salinity here being increasing and freshwater inflow being reduced. So there are tidal creeks which are formed, which have increased here. The coastal flooding has increased here. Coastal erosion has increased, and that is threatening the mangroves here. So this is also going to reduce carbon sequestration, because forests have carbon sequestration potential. This term is very important from environment perspective. So this basically means carbon capture and storage. So this is actually carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide, you should know, is the gas which one of the major gases which cause global warming. Even global warming of other gases is also calculated in terms of carbon dioxide. How much is their potential to? So carbon dioxide from the atmosphere has to be captured and stored. So one way of this is also the forests, trees. So trees take in carbon dioxide, they require that for photosynthesis. So that is the carbon sequestration which is being spoken of. Even oceans absorb carbon dioxide. If a huge amount of carbon dioxide is absorbed, it results in ocean acidification. So these are the ways. Even artificially it is being done. There are carbon capture and storage units which are also plants which are established to ensure carbon sequestration artificially. These are natural ways. So that is there. So carbon sequestration potential is also reduced if these mangroves are lost. So that is also highlighted here. So that is this. This is the various islands here of Sundarbans and how much forest cover have they lost, which is shown. And this is the carbon sequestration which I spoke of. So there are various ways in which carbon sequestration can take place. Terrestrial is through forests. Then even this carbon capture and storage which is done. So power stations can also have this, in place so that they can have carbon capture and storage done. Then the next news item is Nirbhay failed due to use of recycled material. So this Nirbhay is long range subsonic cruise missile. The supersonic cruise missile which we have is BrahMos, which has been jointly developed by India and Russia. And Nirbhay actually is the subsonic long-range cruise missile, and this has been designed and developed by DRDO, Defense Research and Development Organization. It had its fourth test conducted in December 2016, and it had failed. It had failed to the extent that it had to be self-destructed. The self-destruct mechanism was activated and it was killed in mid-air. So this, now the DRDO chief is saying that this was because of use of faulty material. So the wings here, so actually this Nirbhay, it goes up as an aircraft. So initially it goes up as a rocket, and then it has these wings which open up and it goes like an aircraft. So the vendor from whom these equipments were taken, manufacturing of these wings was done, he had used recycled material for these wings. And the DRDO chief is saying that this recycled material used for the wings has resulted in the failure. So now again it is being put into effect, and again a next 5th test would also be conducted, and hopefully if it goes well, then we'll have this strategic missile in place for us. So this is a missile which can carry both nuclear and conventional warheads. So it's a strategic weapon. It's all-weather, low-cost, long-range subsonic cruise missile. So cruise missile basically means that it is a guided missile. So if it is a ballistic missile, it is not guided. It's only guided in the initial phase, and then it follows the ballistic. Ballistic is the path, the way when a ball is thrown, the trajectory which it follows in due to gravity. So that trajectory is the natural path which it follows. So you don't guide the ball throughout, right? You throw the ball, it goes its path. So that is the way missiles can also function. So those are called ballistic missiles, and missiles which are guided throughout the path, those are called cruise missiles. So this is a cruise missile, Nirbhay. Then next, the DRDO chief speaks of Tejas Mark II. So this is the light combat aircraft, LCA, Tejas. So this has also been developed by the country. So he's speaking of how this will also be in place soon, Tejas Mark II, which is an advanced version of Tejas. And he is also speaking of AWACS. So this is airborne early warning and control systems. So these are radars basically. So these are also being acquired from Israel. So 5 of them would be coming from Israel. 1 of them would later be even indigenously developed along with Israel. So this is also one initiative which is being spoken of. Right. So here the details of these are also given. This is regarding Nirbhay. The details, as you can see, long range, it's having a range of 1000 km. So it blasts off like a rocket and then turns horizontal to fly like an aircraft. It's a subsonic cruise missile. Supersonic one is the BrahMos, which I spoke of. And this is the accident which had occurred of Nirbhay missile as such during the test flight. And this is regarding the light combat aircraft, Tejas. So Tejas has also suffered through various glitches, and finally we have seen Tejas Mark II is now being developed. So here it was 1983 when this light combat aircraft project was approved. Then this is regarding AWACS, Airborne Early Warning and Control System. So AWACS, or AWACS as it is called, whatever be the acronym used, either of the two. So this is also been acquired from Israel. We have these Israeli Falcon radars are also already there, mounted on Russian Il-76 aircrafts, and also presently which are there are being put up on Embraer aircrafts also, and further also they'll be acquired. Then next is India wants all men considered missing in Pakistan back. So this is regarding the recent exchange of prisoners list which was done by India and Pakistan. So this is according to the agreement between the two countries. This is agreement on consular access which was signed between India and Pakistan in 2008. So under this, all prisoners are to be exchanged. So this is the institutionalized process. So this list was presently exchanged, and this is done twice in a year on 1st Jan and 1st July. So this is the news. In this regard, we have also asked for early release and repatriation of all Indian prisoners, which are Indian defense personnel, even fishermen who have been arrested along with their boats. So this is another tragedy, that even their boats are held. And even if the fishermen are released, the boats are not released. So they suffer then because of that. And also other civilians who are there behind bars in Pakistan. So this is there. So in this context, even a demand for Kulbhushan Jadhav's full consular access has been made. We have already discussed, and you should be knowing about Kulbhushan Jadhav by now. So military court in Pakistan has sentenced him to death, and we have approached International Court of Justice, which has put a stay on executing this sentence. So even a plea for mercy has been made by Kulbhushan Jadhav here, and we have not been given consular access. We have not been given details of him so that we can assist in this process in Pakistan. So that is what we are demanding from International Court of Justice too. So this is there. Then the next news item is day 1 of GST. Price cuts, peeves over returns filing. So this is regarding GST implementation. So the first day went off smoothly. We saw various entities, various private entities also reducing prices. So many FMCGs like fast moving consumer goods saw their prices reduced. Even automobile sector, electronic sector, prominently Apple, reduce the prices of its iPhones. Even we had this car manufacturers like Maruti, it brought down the prices of some of its, select models as such too. So this has been done. And plus another thing which the Finance Minister Arun Jaitley has spoken of is on the multiple rates in the goods and services tax. So he says these multiple rates are essential. Earlier too we had compared that Hawaii chappals and luxury items cannot have the same taxation rate. So GST rates are multiple. So we don't want single rate, but at least there should not be a huge number of rates. So that also has been accepted, and he said that over the time these rates would also be reduced. So reduction will take place in future. That has also been an assurance given by the Finance Minister. And another thing which the Revenue Secretary spoke of is regarding misconception under GST, that you have to file 3 returns per month. So this is a misconception. He says that you have to register, you have to file returns, only 1 return per month. The other 2 forms, because there are 3 forms, GSTR 1, GSTR 2 and GSTR 3. So he says there is only 1 form which has to be filed by the trader. This will be filled by the trader. The other 2 forms are actually automatically generated and have to be reviewed and updated by the trader and then submitted. And GSTR 3 is finally eventually completely submitted. So this is the whole, you can say flow chart which is given here. So you file GSTR 1 for sales made. So due date is actually 10th of the next month, but as we saw, that has been delayed to September 5. First filing date is September 5. And for August also, for July it is September 5, and for August also it has been postponed to September 20. But then after that it will be 10th of the next month. So for previous month, 10th of the next month would be the deadline. You will have to file GSTR 1. So this will be filed for the sales which you make. So the buyers, from whom you're buying, so your buyer views these sales made by you in GSTR 2A. So this all is interconnected. So your buyer approves these sales made by you and files GSTR 2. So that GSTR 2 is approving this. So you are the seller. So if you are the intermediary, there's an intermediary who's buying from you. Means there is a chain in commerce. So a person may be a wholesaler, then there may be a retailer, then there'll be further people down the line, and finally it is sold to the consumer. So this is in that context. Even you may be buying raw material as such from someone. So that's what it is showing. The GSTR 1 is seen as GSTR 2 by the buyer, and he has to approve that this is the sales made as such. And then if he modifies, if GSTR 2 is modified by him, then this will be visible, and then that has to be tallied. And then once all this is done, finalized, then GSTR 3 is generated with payment of taxes. So when buyer and seller approve all, then GSTR 3 is generated. So that is the process of GST. Then the next news item is why Bhutan is special to India. So this is regarding the special relation between India and Bhutan in context of the standoff in Dokola or Doklam region, or even Donglang as it is being called, the tri-junction which we have been discussing almost every day now. So this is because India-Bhutan Friendship Treaty of 2017 has this provision that there should be close cooperation on issues related to national interest, and neither government will allow the use of their territory for activities harmful to the national security and interest of the other country. So actually this is the renegotiated India-Bhutan Friendship Treaty. The previous treaty, which has been superseded by this 2007 treaty, specifically mentioned that India has to guide Bhutan on foreign and defense policies. So this, considering the sensitivities of Bhutan, this reframing of this treaty was done as such, but still the ground reality remains the same, that Indian military is virtually responsible for Bhutan's protection. Bhutan does not have formal diplomatic relations with China as well, and they have the boundary dispute. So this is the context. In the context of India-China standoff, Bhutan's special relation with India is being highlighted here. Also, the military training is being provided. Training to Bhutanese security personnel is also being provided by India, and also the Bhutan protection of Bhutan is one of the roles of Eastern Army Command and Eastern Air Command of India as well. So this is there. Then the next news item is IIT Guwahati succeeds in regenerating damaged nerve. So this is regarding a research being undertaken by IIT Guwahati team, and what they did was, there are nerve damages. So nerves are there throughout the body. So these nerve cells, these are called neurons. So neurons get damaged. So nerve cells through which the sensory information, motor information is transmitted as such from brain to the entire body. So these peripheral nerve damage takes place when there are traumatic injuries in accidents or even bullet wounds or even during surgical interventions. These nerves get damaged. So for that, these IIT Guwahati team, what it has done is that they have made a neuron implant. So these nerve conduits have been formed. They have been synthesized in the lab. So what they have used is an electrospinning of a mixture of silk fibron protein and electrically conductive polymer called polyaniline. You don't need to remember all this. Rather, I would remove this highlight also. But this is there, that electrospinning, this actually polymer, electric conducting polymer has been used. But at least you should know about nerve cells and how they function. So when this conduit was implanted in the rats, it has seen that the synthesized cells, Schwann cells, which have been provided on top, they have been able to secrete the insulating layer of myelin sheath and they have functioned effectively. So nerve damages can be rectified through this artificial implant as such. Nerve conduits which have been synthesized. So this is being seen. So you should know about neurons. What are neurons? So it's the nerve cell. So this nerve cell which is there, you can see this layer. This is the nucleus of the nerve cell, and then you have these dendritic projections. So this is called the axon here. So the axon here goes up and further there are axon terminals. So from the nerves, the dendrites and axons of each, one axon will connect to the next dendrite and dendrite to the axon, and this is the whole chain of nerve cells which is formed, and this is how the information through the nervous system is transmitted from body to the brain and from brain to the body. So this is what is being damaged and that is artificially replaced. So these are Schwann cells. You can see on this there is a myelin sheath. So the axons need to be protected. An insulating layer is provided. So this conduction is similar to electric conduction as well. So nerve cells conduction is linked to that. So these myelin sheaths are insulating sheaths which are there on top, and on them there are these Schwann cells. These Schwann cells secrete this myelin sheath and cover it. So the nerve damage for which the nerve conduits were used, these Schwann cells which are artificially placed on them were secreting myelin sheath and covering it. So it was this implant was taken in through the body and the nerve damage was rectified. So this is the news. Then next is, so this has been done internationally, but this is a study research which has been undertaken in India. That is why it is important, because UPSC does have in its main syllabus a specific topic about scientific research in India, contribution of Indian scientists. So that is why this is important. You should know about these things. Then the next news item is death of a bystander. So this is again Indian researchers. These are researchers from Mumbai who have undertaken this study, and they have found that the DNA associated with associated proteins from a dying cancer cell can also enter healthy cells and induce DNA damage there and inflammation there. So means because what is done in cancer treatment, you use radiotherapy and chemotherapy. So what they are targeting, they are killing the cancer cells. So when cancer cells are killed, the chromatin which is there in them, that is mobilized and they can enter, they become free. And then they are outside the cancer cells and they are free, they can enter healthy cells also. And then the DNA damage take place in those healthy cells and they may also be further affected. So that's why it is seen that with chemotherapy, rather than ending cancer, you may be spreading cancer. So this is a research which has been undertaken that distant healthy cells are also affected because of the cell-free chromatin, affected chromatin, and DNA damage takes place. So this is there. So chromatin, you should know basically what is chromatin. So you can see this is the chromosome. So we have 23 pairs of chromosomes. So on these chromosomes, there are these chromatin in which the DNA is bundled up. And DNA uses deoxyribonucleic acid, which carries the genetic information. So this is there. Then next is a bid to defang dengue. So this is again a research being undertaken in India. So this is something which has presently been started off in partnership with IIT Mumbai. So what has been done is the dengue patients would be studied. So there will be this biomarker which will be used for dengue patients. So biomarker is something which you use so that you can have a complete trace about how the disease is affecting. So that is there. So here what would happen is dengue patients, what we see, we hear of dengue disease, so you should know about it, that it is because of the mosquito bite that dengue is spread, and this is Aedes aegypti mosquito primarily which spreads dengue. It also spreads chikungunya and also Zika virus. So in dengue, we see that in some cases the patients can easily be treated. In some cases they are in ICU. They need their platelet counts go low and they are in ICU. So the dengue hemorrhagic fever as such and dengue shock syndrome, this develops. So why does this different form of dengue develop? On this, which patient would be having a severe case and which patient can be easily treated? To understand this, the study has been undertaken here by this laboratory in Mumbai along with IIT Mumbai. So this, they will use biomarkers to predict how dengue will progress in particular patient. So this is a study initiated presently. So once they finish the study, we'll have the results too. So this is there. So there are different forms of dengue virus and they affect differently, and recovery from one gives lifelong immunity only from that particular strain. So you will be still having susceptibility to other strains of dengue virus. Right? And it results in death also. You can see dengue hemorrhagic fever has a 2.5% mortality rate also. So these are the 4 dengue clinical syndromes: undifferentiated fever, classic dengue fever, dengue hemorrhagic fever, and dengue shock syndrome. So this is the severest form. So this is a study undertaking to identify which one form of dengue would develop as such in a patient. Then next is Antarctic ice-free islands set to grow. So if you look at Antarctica, here you can see in this northern part, this is the peninsula part of Antarctica. So peninsula means a landmass which is surrounded on 3 sides by water. So Indian plateau region is also called Indian peninsula because on 3 sides it's triangular shaped somewhat, and it is surrounded on 3 sides by water. So this is Antarctic peninsula, you can see. So this region here, there are islands. So these ice-free islands which are there, they are called nunataks. So these nunataks are the places where you see that the biodiversity of the continent is located. So because on this ice you will not have vegetation and animals thriving, but in these ice-free regions you have a huge, almost all of the biodiversity of the continent residing, and these are increasing. So their area is increasing. So ice-free islands are growing as such. It means ice is melting. This is of course because of climate change. So biodiversity may increase, but then it would result in invasive species spreading further. So this will again actually make the homogeneous diversity here as such affected. So the indigenous diversity, the indigenous biodiversity of Antarctica would be affected because of invasive species once ice melting begins. And of course, it's a concern for sea level rising and climate change as well too. So this is a point being put forth here. So more than 85% you can see of the new ice-free area is believed to occur in the North Antarctic Peninsula. So this is the North Antarctic Peninsula being spoken of. So this is in the South Pole, Antarctica, where we are seeing that ice-free islands are emerging. This is the Larsen ABC region here, in this region which is shown in detail here. So this is there. And then even in Arctic, the North Pole also, we are seeing that polar ice caps is shrinking. So you can see how it has shrunk over the period of time. So in 2012, this was the main extent, and now you can see it has reduced. So this is the ice caps melting on both North and South Pole. Then the next news item is new material uses sunlight to detoxify water. So scientists have now used solar energy. That also solar energy in visible light. Using visible light, they have developed this photocatalytic material which will be absorbing 90% of the dye and enhancing the dye breakdown. It will be broken down into smaller particles almost 10 times more. The rate of breaking down will increase 10 times more using visible light. So these dye pollutants, synthetic dye pollutants, are released in the atmosphere at the rate of 3 lakh tons a year throughout the world, in the world waters. So this is an initiative which has been undertaken using solar energy. This is called photocatalytic degradation. So this is another research undertaken which is of significance. So earlier UV light has been used, and also if this visible light has been used, the research as such, materials being developed, such photocatalytic materials developed, have been very limited. So this is the research. So you can see here. Then the next news item is No tolerance for subversion in Hong Kong, Z. So this is Chinese President Xi Jinping speaking. We saw yesterday that Hong Kong completed 12 years since it was handed over from Great Britain to China. And now we are seeing that the Chinese president has spoken sternly on the idea of one country, two systems. So this is what Hong Kong association with China is based on. So it is allowed to have free economy, market economy in place, and its relation, there is freedom of speech in this region too. They have relatively more civil liberties compared to mainland China. But then still there are activists in Hong Kong who are demanding more autonomy and even independence from China. So they have been sternly spoken against by Chinese President Xi Jinping. So no tolerance will be there for subversive activities. That is crossing the red line, he's saying. So that is impermissible. Other than that, what are the provisions under one country, two system, they would be provided for by China as such. So this is, so you should know about this one country, two system. So this when 1997, in 2017, it is 20 years completed. When Great Britain handed over Hong Kong to China, this provision was put in place. One country, two systems. So this is Hong Kong here, you can see. This is also shown in detail here. Hong Kong and Macau, to two islands which were there with Great Britain and then handed over to China. And this is Taiwan, which is also called Chinese Taipei. So this is a separate region. This is because of which USA and China had a problem. So this is part of one China policy. And for Hong Kong, the terminology used here is one nation, two systems. Right? So this is there, one country, two systems. Then next is Ladakh's Changthang, the Pashmina Plateau. So this Changthang Plateau in Ladakh in Jammu and Kashmir is known to be inhabited by this nomadic tribe called Changpa. So they are nomadic tribe means because here the temperatures during winters go very low. To the extent they go to minus 40 degrees Celsius. So at such low temperatures, they still don't go to the lowlands. They still stay at these high temperatures at heights because they are the nurturers of Changthangi, which are found on this Changthang plateau. These Changthangi are also known as Pashmina goats. So these are goats who have this wool. This Pashmina wool is very famous. Pashmina shawls as such from Kashmir. So this Ladakh region here on Changthang plateau, you find this Changthangi. That is Pashmina goats. So this Changthangi, they will develop this coat only in high temperatures. So that is why they survive. They thrive in these higher temperatures, don't go to lower altitudes, and they nurture these Pashmina goats, Changthangi, and finally they are rewarded by the wool, even the milk as such from these goats. So this is about the Changpa nomads also, and the region and this animal as well. So you should know about this. Then next news item is India presses Microsoft for Windows discount. So we are seeing two attacks, ransomware attacks which have taken place. One in May 2017, which was of WannaCry, a ransomware which was demanding ransom in bitcoins, and now there is this NotPetya ransomware attack which has taken place in June 2017. Both are exploiting the vulnerability in Microsoft operating system, the eternal blue vulnerability as it is called. So because of this, in India also, you know that a major section of the population uses Windows operating system. So that is also statistics is given here. 96% of 57 million computers in India run on Windows. Other run on Apple and Linux based operating systems. So because we have such a high number of population of computers using Windows, so in that case, we want Microsoft to provide Windows update at a latest operating software, actually Windows 10 operating system at a discount. So if this one-time deal with Microsoft is being negotiated with by Indian authorities. So if this Microsoft has also agreed in principle for this, because there is actually a patch which has been released. So this patch which fixes the vulnerability in the older operating system has been released, but this has been undertaken by the government too, and people have also been advised. But then the best thing is to upgrade the operating system. So for that, this deal is being finalized. So this has been spoken of here. So we know that majority of the Windows as such running as such are also pirated versions used. So in that case also, this is a initiative taken. Windows operating system, Windows 10 actually costs around 8,000 rupees. So this is a retail price. So we are asking for a major discount in which people can buy this in bulk. Even the ATMs use Windows operating system. So here also in various ATMs, these need to be upgraded. So the security patch has been released by Microsoft after WannaCry attack has been updated, but now still we are demanding for the higher order operating system, Windows 10 as such. Then here what is shown is that different types of cyber attacks which can take place. So recently we are seeing a ransomware attack. So this is malware, one form in which a malicious software such as ransomware also is designed to damage and control a computer system. So it will come as an attachment. So malicious software coming as an attachment in an email or a link which you use as such. Phishing is fake official email. So phishing is another form in which an official looking email will come from a bank or from any entity or a fake website which looks like an official website. And when you log in and give your password there, your details are taken. So that is called phishing. And then another one is man in the middle attacks. So here hackers insert themselves between your computer and the web server and take in all the information. So they are in between taking in all information. So this is another way of cyber attack. Then there is DDoS, distributed denial of service. So this is a network of computers overload a server with data shutting it down. So this is another way of attacking a system. So there are huge number of computers which are connected to the server, because of which the server shuts down. So this is also purposely done to overload the server and stop its functioning. So this is there. Then another is cross-site scripting. So this is malicious code which is inserted into a website to target the visitor's browser. So this is there. And then there is SQL injection attack. So this corrupts the data which is there. So SQL database which is there. So this data is corrupted and the information regarding credit card numbers, usernames, etc. all this data is extracted. So these are the forms of cyber attacks. Then next is the last news item. Software patent rules reissued. So Indian Patent Office has now issued fresh guidelines on computer related interventions. So computer related interventions such as software programs, when they can be applied for patent, has been clarified now. The Indian Patents Act under section 3K actually mentions that mathematical or business method or computer program like an algorithm cannot be an intervention independent. So this has created furor when the first guidelines were released. So now after consultation with the IT sector, the industry, further fresh guidelines have been released. The details have not been provided, but the background you should know here. So here in 2015 August, the draft guidelines for computer related interventions were released, and in December these guidelines were put on hold because of the huge backlash from the software industry. They said that this would adversely affect the Indian business. Then in Feb 2016 these guidelines were rolled back. So this guideline rollback was a mathematical inventions, business methods and algorithms were not to be considered as patents. So that was the problem as such. And now we are seeing that fresh guidelines have come. So the Indian intellectual property has no protection in the country. So this is what has been assumed by what was being interpreted by the software industry in the country. So now we'll see what are the fresh guidelines. Of course, this will come again in news because presently in this news item, the rules have not been discussed. Okay. So that is it. These are the news items. Thank you.